Hi everyone, we're right at 2 o'clock. I appreciate you joining us here. We're going to give it just a couple minutes to let people dial in the next 2 minutes or so. So we'll probably get started at 2:02, 2:03 Eastern Time. So sit tight, we'll get started in just a minute. Thanks. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Appreciate everybody coming today, and welcome to the webinar here from Message Gears today. This is how marketers are changing with technology. Today we're going to be running through the results from an April 2019 cross-channel survey that the team here at Message Gears conducted. My name is Will Devlin. There I am. My name is Will Devlin. I'm your host for today. I'm the VP of Marketing here at Message Gears. I've been in the email space one way or another for over 17 years now, pretty much my entire career. I'm also on the member advisory committee with the Email Experience Council, which is a division of the ANA. If you haven't heard of the EEC or you are not a member, you should go to emailexperience.org. Look at it. It's a great community of email marketers. You can find me and talk to me, and I tweet a lot about email marketing and marketing in general on Twitter at WDevlin. I also kind of lurk in the Email Geeks and EEC Slack channels, so you can find me in either of those as well. So here's what's in store for the next maybe 20-25 minutes. I appreciate people taking time out of their day. I hope you find this valuable. I think you will find it valuable. And applicable to your day-to-day lives here. So we're going to give you an overview here of who we surveyed in, again, our April 2019 survey of enterprise marketers. And then we're going to look at the channels that they're utilizing and how email is still driving successful marketing strategies. It's still the linchpin. We'll get marketers' thoughts on personalization coming straight from the data. And then we'll also talk about cross-channel silos that are getting in the way. And then we'll finish and close out with where we stand with cross-channel marketing today and what's next. And that's coming, again, straight from the words of the participants in our survey. If you have questions throughout this webinar, go ahead and submit them through the GoToWebinar questions tab there. If we have a few minutes at the end, we may get to a few of them, but I always follow up and get back to you afterwards. And so rest assured, if there's something that comes up, you'll get it answered. The data you're going to see here today comes from cross-channel messaging and today's marketer, and this is about to be published tomorrow at messagegears.com. As much as I would love everybody here to go to messagegears.com tomorrow, I'm going to send you guys an email with a link to the report in it, as well as a recording of today's webinar. So you'll get that in your inbox. You don't have to set a reminder or anything. The genesis here, email has been such a constant in our lives for decades. I mentioned I've been in the space my entire career, essentially. And even as technology changes, email, especially as a marketing channel, keeps plugging along. It just works. But the rise of smartphones and social media and cloud computing has created a major change for marketers. There was a Pew Research study that showed that 77% of Americans own a smartphone today. And in 2011, that was just 35%. And that's such a rapid change. And that comes with a whole host of new challenges for marketers. So at Message Gears here, we wanted to understand the behaviors of enterprise marketers and the attitudes relating to cross-channel messaging and the technology that they utilize for that. And so we know consumers are savvier and have more information at their fingertips than ever before. And so super senders today have to be able to reach people at the right time and place that works best for them, and that's hard. So getting cross-channel right is mission critical. We wanted to see how marketers are adjusting, how they're attacking their challenges, and what may lay ahead for an industry that is continuing to evolve. All right, so let's look at who we actually talked to first, give you some context. We reached out to 102 marketers from super senders through our partners at Servata. You'll notice that these are larger organizations here. Message Gears is an ESP specifically built for large enterprise brands. So that's who we focused on. But I think, looking at this data, I can imagine that even if you don't consider yourself a quote-unquote super sender, there are a lot of similarities in the priorities and the challenges that you'll find here. So I think there's a lot of synergies here. You can see that the participants here are marketers from larger businesses, $50 million and up in annual revenue. These are the participants. About 2/3 of them represented companies with annual revenues of more than $500 million. So these are big, big brands. And really, they are true super senders. These are brands that are sending more than 10 million monthly email marketing messages. So half of them send between 10 and 50 million marketing messages a month. We saw almost 18% of the participants here send over 200 million messages a month. That's a ton of volume. And I will say here, I'll note too that they skewed B2C. So they were direct to consumer or business to consumer messages here. We did have a mix where some companies that participated in the profile or in the program here did a mix of B2C and B2B, but there are no pure play B2B respondents in here. And about 3/4 of respondents here, what we would consider practitioners, what I would consider practitioners. So managers, analysts, associates, a mix of entry-level titles. The rest were director level and above. So I think you're getting a good mix of people who have their fingers on the keyboard and are actually in the tools, building campaigns, having to execute. And then you're getting also a perspective from people who focus more on strategy and have decision-making authority when it comes to improving their team, improving processes, and improving technology within their companies. And finally, we did want to make sure that we were talking to people that actually had some sort of a hand in planning, creating, and deploying email and mobile messages. So everybody that we talk to spends at least half of their time in these areas, with over half of them saying it's most or all of their responsibilities. So we're not getting responses here and feedback from people that have nothing to do with email and mobile marketing. So that's sort of a high-level look at who we surveyed and some of this data. And not surprisingly, I think the first headline coming from the research is that email still is the driver of a successful messaging strategy. It is still the thing that holds it all together, and it is still sort of the old reliable. One of our primary questions was what channels were involved in the marketing mix. And you can see there's a wide variety of answers, and it doesn't even encompass other digital marketing channels and even other offline marketing channels. I mean, there's a few here, but these are just the top answers. You can see that mobile push, web push, mobile in-app messaging, they're all hovering around 40% adoption, which is really interesting to see and will be interesting to trend over time. SMS over half, almost 53% of adoption there, and direct mail and social media over 60%. But you can see very clearly email far and away the most widely adopted channel used for marketing to customers, with over 83%. Now, to me, one of the other sort of surprising things here on this, I think it's understanding that we surveyed marketers that have a hand in email and mobile. That was that qualifier, right? They have to have most of their responsibility has to be in the email and mobile channel, and I think it's a little understandable here that display is listed on the far left so low, despite probably having a larger presence in most of these companies. So we're going to talk in a few minutes about siloed technology and how that silos teams and structures, and there's not a lot of communication and collaboration. And I think that's likely a cause of the disconnect here. There was another question that we did ask that if marketers are targeting or retargeting their customer database with display ads, and there was a decent chunk that said they didn't know, but there was also almost 2/3 that said that they did do that. And so I think that's likely closer to the true number for display, which probably up in that 62-65% range in there. But again, understandable here for this that disconnect there. But I think again, the big story here: email still king. Email is still far and away the number one channel. We saw the previous slide here: 83% adoption. 83% of the respondents use email to send marketing messages. I think it's part of CAN-SPAM at this point to mention that a lot of people think email's dead, and it's not dead. It's certainly not dead. It is very reliable, very trusty, and very lucrative. Of the respondents, too, 44% send more than half of their marketing messages through email. So it's not just that email is widely used. It is that as a percentage of the overall marketing mix, it is a very large percent. So more than half of their marketing messages coming through email. That's 44%. And going back and thinking through the brands and the amount of revenue that these companies are bringing in, I thought this was really interesting. 34% said that they can attribute more than half of their revenue to email in some way. So think about, again, so many of the brands that are represented here are $500 million annual revenue companies, and to be able to attribute half or more of that in some way to email marketing, it doesn't mean that it was sourced by email, but it was certainly, there's a certain level of attribution. I think is super impressive, and again speaks to how powerful email is. So email is still king. Push, SMS, social, they're growing in use, they're growing in effectiveness, but email doesn't get the attention it often deserves because it's been around for so long, sort of steady Eddie, but it really does continue to be a reliable winner. So as the number of messaging channels has grown for marketers, so is the imperative to deliver messages that are relevant to every individual. So especially for super senders, consumers like us are expecting them to get personalization right. We're expecting them to give us that great experience, which is sort of a real conundrum for marketers because it's toughest for them at the super sender level to get it right. So customers expect you to get it right. It is the hardest for you to get right. And with so much data being collected, organizing it and accessing it for marketing purposes continues to get tougher as time goes on. So one of the first things we asked was where companies are storing their data. 35% said that they were storing their data in some sort of a modern or cloud enterprise data warehouse, EDW, like a Snowflake or an Amazon Redshift or a BigQuery. We're seeing a lot of brands moving to this model in recent years, and I would expect to continue that trend over the next couple of years, particularly on the enterprise side. 28% said they use some sort of traditional in-house database like a Teradata or Hadoop. A quarter of the marketers say that they use their ESP as their primary data storage, and 12% say they're using some sort of a CDP like Segment or mParticle to house their data. So you're seeing a lot of different areas here where people can store their data. And then the data that they're actually using to personalize messages is varying as well. So personally identifiable information, PII, about 35% are using that to personalize messages. That's something as simple as name or address, some things like that. It can also go deeper into really private information used for segmentation. We're seeing geographic data and user preferences in the 40s. Behavioral and customer information is used by almost 60%. So any actions that people are taking, that's being utilized quite a bit in personalization. And most people are using demographic data. It's used by 2/3 of marketers for personalization. So they're doing that personalization through email, and it's very clear they're doing it through email. 75% say personalizing an email is very easy. Conversely, 53% say personalizing push messages is not easy, and 54% say personalizing SMS is not easy. And so while it's really great, it's a great story for email to say, oh, we're able to really get that personalized and tailored experience. In today's cross-channel world where everybody's trying to get it right and every consumer expects you to get it right, this is sort of a concern here, right? It's a disconnect. As it's necessary to have that well-rounded, consistent approach, marketers are having trouble for various reasons personalizing anything outside of the email channel. So email is easy to personalize. Other things are really still have a long way to go. And part of that, I think, is due to sort of the next finding here, which is due to the maturity of email compared to other things. Part of it has to do with the richness of the channel itself, but other things have to do with cross-channel silos getting in the way. This is sort of an interesting finding, just is sort of a blanket statement on executing campaigns, but a good chunk of marketers that we surveyed think that social, email, and push messaging are just frustrating to execute campaigns in general. It's hard. And I found that really interesting, especially on the email side, almost 30% there that found it frustrating. And part of that is due to technology. So one of the other questions we asked was if you have to build and deploy each channel's campaign in a separate UI or system. And that means you have to log into either a different tool or you have to go into a different area of the same tool in order to build and execute a campaign. So yeah, something might share a login. You might feel like you're in the same interface, but you still have to go to a separate section, a separate area to do stuff. Over 56% said, yeah, I have to do that. The technology is siloed. I have to build these things out on different channels. And it's difficult. And that's creating challenges in the teams as well. So 74% of the marketers that we surveyed here said that their marketing teams, their cross-channel roles, are all or mostly siloed. And so you can see here, we asked, are the channel-specific roles within your team, or is everything collaborative? And a lot of it is very channel-specific. And there are good reasons for that. I mean, there are certainly you want to have deep expertise in a specific area. You want to have people that know email all the way top to bottom. You want to have people that know mobile and search. But if they're not collaborating, they're not communicating, that can be a problem. And one of the other data points, one of my favorite findings from this, was that 100% of those who said that personalization is difficult also said that their team is siloed. So without that cohesion and that cooperation within the full marketing team, the lack of communication is going to make everyone's job harder, and it's going to tend to result in numbers that don't meet the expectations of the campaign. And so what we're seeing here is that real disconnect where technology is hurting, is sort of forcing teams to be siloed, and that's hurting the end result and making things harder, and it's certainly affecting the type of communications that people are getting on the consumer side. So what's next? What's next, and where do we stand in cross-channel? One of the things we wanted to ask about was attribution. I found this really interesting and encouraging, in fact, in that a lot of folks are measuring, feel like they're able to measure cross-channel attribution. So over 60% said, yes, I can measure across channels, I can do attribution. And a lot of folks either felt like, look, it's not it's not difficult for me to do it, or in some cases, about a quarter of folks said, yeah, it's actually pretty easy for me to do that. So that's really encouraging. Another thing that I found encouraging, we asked what the primary measurement of success was, and far and away the number one success metric here that people were judging channels off of and their efforts off of was sales and revenue. And to me, that's very reassuring, because a lot of channel-specific marketers get stuck trying to measure success through vanity metrics like opens and clicks and traffic, and those are all really good data points and they help tell a good story, but ultimately our jobs and our success should be tied back to revenue, and that's what matters most. Trends for the next 12 months. I mean, there's really not a lot of scaling back in any area really. So we asked, do you expect volume to grow or decrease in various areas? We see 43% expect email to grow in the next 12 months. 48% say they expect push to grow in some capacity, whether that's mobile push or in-app. And over half expect social media to grow, which is really encouraging. So there's a lot of growth still ahead in a lot of these channels, that a lot of people feel like they can continue to improve and iterate on what they're doing. And we asked in sort of an open-ended area what the wish list would be for technology moving forward for brands. And so these are just a sampling of some of the answers we got here, but easier execution, better technology, a better infrastructure to manage multiple methods. User friendliness is certainly something that's important to folks. Wanting everything in one area, wanting better collaboration and better training from their vendors, which I find interesting on the service side. Real-time data, so being able to do things faster, being able to do things without any sort of wasted time or effort or data lag, better analytics and attribution methods, and being able to control things in all one tool for all channels. So this was just an open-ended wish list, but this is what people, marketers like yourselves, are really hoping to get out of the technology. And what we've seen is that a lot of technology has been acquired and pieced together, and it doesn't all work together as seamlessly as we want it to, and it doesn't accomplish the same things that perhaps it was promised to do or hopes to do in the future. And a couple other trends we're seeing, not just from this survey, but from other surveys and anecdotal evidence from customers that we talk to and brands that we talk to, is that going back to data and centralizing and keeping that in one place. You did see the adoption of the modern or cloud data warehouse in that previous slide of where marketers and where brands are storing their data, and that's going to continue. So the enterprise brands and brands in general realize that I need one central location for my data, and then I need to be able to find, or in some cases build, tools that are going to access that data directly. I can't keep moving things around. I can't keep copies of data all over the place. It's creating problems. People expect things quickly. People expect things fast. And then they expect tools to have native integrations with the tools that they work with, and intuitive UIs so that they can maneuver back and forth and really feel like they're orchestrating things together. So it's being able to access data and plug in. That's why you're seeing the rise of a CDP, for example, because there's a lot of data that's kind of siloed out there that CDPs are trying to pull together. But yeah, you can't just have that and a clunky UI where people can't feel like they execute and understand what's going on. You can't just have a nice UI without the data backend. You have to have everything sort of packaged together. So tools that work together, tools that plug into a central database, we're seeing that as a trend. So just to recap, just some of the data that we saw here, and I think, it probably echoes what a lot of you are seeing in your daily lives and your roles in your organizations. But marketing channels are multiplying. That's not news to anybody, but email is still king. And again, anecdotally, I think a lot of us feel that way, and you might certainly see that within your own organization, but that is something that we see time and time again. So email is still king. But personalization is a real challenge on channels outside of email. Remember that stat we talked about, where 75% of people say, yeah, email is great for personalization, it's really easy, but then the majority of people felt like trying to personalize SMS, trying to personalize push was not easy. So it's a challenge outside of email to do personalization well. We have to find ways to do that better. one of the, again, biggest takeaways for me was that siloed technology is creating siloed teams within organizations, and that is making personalization difficult. And so that's trickling down to the end user, the consumers, the recipients of our messaging. They're not getting the experience that they expect from us as household names, as brands that they know and trust and love. And it really kind of goes back to, well, my team is structured this way and doesn't collaborate and can't communicate because the technology forces us to do that. And so it's really about the tools that you're utilizing. And but we are seeing that super senders are trying to back away from that and centralize their data and then find or, again, build tools themselves that can work off that data directly. So hopefully you found that interesting and useful. Again, all of this data and more and some extra analysis will be sent to your inbox tomorrow. Cross-channel messaging in today's marketer is a new research from our research team here at MessageGears. Did a great job putting this together with our partners at Servata. It will be available at messagegears.com with no gated form or anything starting tomorrow, but we'll also deliver it to your inbox. And just a quick note here to finish about MessageGears. We are a cross-channel orchestration platform built specifically for super senders. So you may have heard of us before, but our hybrid architecture is specifically built to address the needs of today's large enterprise super senders. We connect directly to your data wherever it lives. So if it's in that modern data warehouse, we connect right to it. If it's in your traditional in-house database, we sit right on top of that. Wherever your data already lives, we're plugging right into that and allowing you to use it all for cross-channel messaging and orchestration. So our technology and our service teams help you work easier as a big brand, give you a great interface, great tools, and a great team to work with here. And we also know that it's one of the biggest barriers to switching ESPs is just the thought of switching. It's a hassle. It's a time-consuming process. Nobody wants to go through it. And previous research we've done here at MessageGears has indicated that people stick with ESPs that they're not really happy with just because they don't want to have to go through months and months of migrating to a new ESP. So we have figured out ways to remove a lot of those common barriers to switching ESPs. And that's one of the biggest reasons we've been successful over the past few years. We allow people to try out our product right on top of their live data as in a proof of concept so you can see how it works. So if you're interested in learning more, we have a live demo coming up next Friday. You can go to messagegears.com/webinars to sign up for that, or you can sign up for a custom demo. We're also going to be, wherever you are in the United States at least, or North America, we're probably going to be in your neighborhood in the next couple of weeks. So if you're going to be at any of these shows or in any of these cities, please reach out to us. We'd love to talk to you as well. So we'll be in San Francisco Monday through Wednesday next week at the Snowflake Summit. We'll be in Seattle on Wednesday with our friends at Movable Inc. for the the Experience Transformation Tour. We'll be in Chicago the end of next week for CRMC, June 5th through 7th, and then for Media Post Email Insider Summit in Pinehurst, North Carolina, June 9th through 12th. We'll also be doing on June 19th a webinar right here with Phrasee, our friends at Phrasee, that you won't want to miss. So check your inboxes and social media feeds for that as well. I hope this was helpful. I hope you found this information valuable. And again, you'll be getting the full report tomorrow in your inbox. My name is Will Devlin. I'm the VP of Marketing here at MessageGears. I really appreciate your time today, and we'll talk soon. Thanks.